So I wanted to quickly give you guys the 7 takeaways from the game between Manchester United and Man City, but I had to take time to review like the game as well as kind of like rewatch the game, especially the first half, and then kind of get a sense of what the fans were feeling, even though I can't feel it being in the stadium, what the fans were feeling right in the stadium, and then gauge it with what the media is reporting versus what the ex-pundits are saying. So it kind of got me really pissed at some of the things I was seeing. I've been seeing some kind of mixed reactions to basically the whole Manchester derby. Some called it dreadful, others called it a poor, others called it good games. I saw it as a good game, considering where we're coming from and where we are at this season. Considering the fact that City are fifth and reigning champions, and to not have lost the last 3 games or in the last 2 games since the Community Shield where we lost to them. We in the last 4 games we've beaten City 3 times. We've beaten City twice, drawn 1 and lost 1. So coming from there to like review the game, I was like, okay, so this is a good thing, seeing as we changed managers in November and we didn't even have the chance to have a manager bounce because the manager literally just changed the system. And our manager bounce only started and ended with Van Nistelrooy all through season. Now, what we'll probably do, obviously, in the near future is the fact that we'll do season review. Well, let's do the 7 takeaways from this game, and then I'll tell you how I feel and kind of give you a historical dive into what Gary Neville said and how he can be hypocritical in some of the things that he said. And it's not like I am giving you my opinion, even though we're a small community. It's not like I am giving you my opinion just to make a point. No, but you can actually see it evidently out there on social media. People are bringing out receipts of things that have been said in the past versus things that are being said now. Now, we're going to give you the 7 positive takeaways from the Manchester United 0-0 draw with Man City. Now, first and foremost, number 1 is that we had defensive solidity and clean sheet. Now, United kept a rare clean sheet against a strong City attack, showing improved defensive organization under Ruben Amorim. Now, Onana made key saves, while Nusra Mazraoui's last-ditch tackle on Foden was a standout moment. Also, a contributor to the key takeaways or to the defensive solidity is Casemiro. Everybody's waxing lyrical about him. And there was a stat put out there by Statman Dave that stated that Casemiro made 11 tackles, more than any player in the top 5 leagues in the Manchester derby. 11 tackles and won all 11 of them. Right? So, Casemiro also contributed to the defensive solidity that Man United showed. And he has been doing that so far since he started featuring in the lineup under Ruben Amorim. And then Ruben Amorim went as far as quoting that he thought that Casemiro at first wasn't doing the things that were expected of him in the system. And then he worked hard, fought for his place, and got a place in the squad. And some people, like me, didn't understand why Casemiro kept making the lineup and why he needed to be subbed off early and stuff, as you might have watched in some of the reviews that we've done. But in the end, Casemiro always showed up in the game based off his experience, his ability to, sniff danger and snuff it out and all of that. So these are the things or the qualities that he has shown in this game, and he has evolved himself to fit into the Amorim system. Despite the fact that he has 1 more year left in his contract, there is a chance that Amorim might keep him as an old head and as a mature head that can actually help, kind of like help the new ones come in and get ingrained into the squad. So people like Sekou Kone, all of the defensive midfielders that need kind of like mentorship in the squad. That's the word I was looking for. So Casemiro was very instrumental in the defensive solidity for, and then the clean sheet as well for Manchester United. Number two, Garnacho's growing influence. It seems to me like Alejandro Garnacho seems to be having a roller coaster kind of performance from game to game. Sometimes he has good performances, other times his performances just dip. He had the bright spark at the beginning of the game and in some moments during the game. Then it is what it is. He was the brightest attacking spark in the tight game. Constantly threatening City defense. He won an early free kick in a dangerous area and was involved in most of United's best moments. But he still fell short because of his decision making, and albeit he could have made some important decisions to be able to help Man United to achieve its goal of getting one over City as we have done before. And I'm pretty sure, and I kid you not on this, that if Ahmad had the same opportunities that Garnacho had, he probably would have made better decisions. But Garnacho is 20. We're going to make the excuse, as everybody keeps making the excuse. And Ahmad is 22. So if Ahmad was not injured, I believe we'll probably have won that game because he would also be our outlet. And probably Garnacho will be on the bench in the time not tell. And be like an important substitute. Or probably Ahmad will play as the right wing back and Dalot will be on the bench. Whatever the case. So Garnacho was our bright spark, could have done better, could have made. And another thing I'd like to say before we go on to the third one is the fact that if Man United has scored a goal, the narrative would have changed. You would not hear anything about boring, blah, 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 blah. But we didn't score a goal, so it's a boring derby. It's a crap derby. Let's not go on a tangent, but let's get to the third point. Now, as I said earlier, this is specifically because of the midfield control. Number three, against elite opponents. Despite the fact that Man City even changed their midfield, Fernandes dictated play in midfield, and he helped United compete on equal terms with City's star-studded midfield. As always, Casemiro provided stability. Ugarte still hasn't really had two good games in a stretch. He had a poor game against Forest, had a poor game against City, but then he still showed some stability in limiting De Bruyne's influence in the final, in his final Manchester derby. Obviously, we all know that Kevin De Bruyne is leaving Man City at the end of the season. So, what is going to be the dynamic? Because Casemiro came good. What's going to be the dynamic with Casemiro and Ugarte playing in the midfield? Because when Ugarte was taking off, there was a balance again. When Bruno came back to the mid and Mount came in again and was put attacking tens. So what do you guys think is going to be the dynamic with Casemiro and Ugarte in the squad? What do you think Amorim is going to do? How is he going to balance it all out? If Ugarte keeps having poor games like this, what's going to happen? Because even when Ugarte, who understands the system, knows what Amorim demands of his midfielders. He probably isn't fully fit, that I can suggest, but that's me making an excuse for him. So what do you think? Let me know in the comment section and let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Now, to number 4, Zirkzee makes an impact off the bench. Dutchman immediately added energy, pressing City's defense and forcing a good save from Ederson when the ball was squared to him. I mean, his movements, his link-up play as well suggests that he could be a key player in the future for Manchester United. And the truth is, it is good to have such players. I know Amorim demands those kinds of players, the profile of players that are very versatile, the likes of Nuzum Mazraoui and Joshua Zirkzee, who can play in the 10 position and can also play as a striker if we need someone who can play like a false 9 or a 9.5 in the system that doesn't require anyone to engage the defenders like Rasmus Højlund. Then we can have Zirkzee. So it's good to have someone like a Zirkzee who's a wild card in the squad, especially for future games. Now, that is what I think about Zirkzee, and he's made an impact. He started running, he was pressing hard. He seems a lot fitter and leaner now. So Zirkzee, this is an appreciation to him for coming up with the goods against City and could have scored as well. I mean, he's had those types of chances. We just need to finish our dinner. That is what it is. And then number five, basically, improved game management. Obviously, Ruben Amorim tried to, manage the game from the beginning, quick start, bright start, and then kind of as we got into the game and we started to measure City's potency, it now became apparent that Amorim kind of found a way to manage the game. So it's very key for us to see that Amorim is also learning and evolving with the team. But obviously, Manchester United fans and pundits alike would have differences of opinions with regards to things like these, but it's what it is. Now, unlike previous collapses, United held firm under pressure and didn't concede late, as always. And it at some point we even had the most control of the game, which led us to have the potential to even score because we were pressing City in their own half. And as I said in the match review, as well as the player ratings, City were there for the taking. But then we move on to number 6, which means that it is working. So encouraging signs in possession. It seems like we are more confident holding the ball and passing it even against big teams and small teams and all of that. So it is very important that we understand this, that the system is going to take time and it's working. Now, United at some point outwork City, right? At times with better build-up play, compared to recent matches. Dogo and Dalot providing width, while Fernandez, like Bruno Fernandes, orchestrated attacks in an intelligent manner. Like you could see he was in control of things. And I even saw certain analysts online, actually on X, talking about how Bruno seems to be like one of the better players in this Amorim system. And I feel like at some point we are going to talk about Bruno Fernandes again, where we will talk about the fact that he seems to have evolved despite the changes in manager since 2020 that he joined Manchester United. But let us keep on. Bruno controlled the game intelligently and showed himself that he understands what the system demands and what the head coach demands of the squad and the team. Now, which takes us to number 7, last but not least. A point gained, not 2 lost. 2 points dropped for the better team, that is Manchester United. Given United struggle this season, a draw against City is a positive result. And it is good for the momentum heading into Thursday's game in the Europa League. So it's very important, to have not lost the game so we can build momentum into the game against Olympique Lyon, where if we get a win away, it will give us a boost ahead of coming home and winning Olympique Lyon. It shows that we have made progress under Ruben Amorim, especially after the disappointing Forest defeat. Now, my final verdict to this is, while not a classic derby, this is a step in the right direction for Manchester United. The defensive resilience, the midfield control, and Garnacho's threats were major positives. And if United can build on this performance, then there is hope for a stronger finish to the season with about 7 games left to go in the league, in Premier League. So, what are your thoughts and feelings about this? And how can Manchester United build on this and take us to the next level when it comes to at least getting something out of the season? We are only 2 points off of 40 points that guarantees safety, which is very bad for Manchester United, but we're 13th in the league, 38 points and all of that. So we need as much points or as many points as possible. And if we have 7 games, there is a possible 21 points up for grabs. Does that mean that if we win all the games, we've had a good season? Or the whole things or the whole negatives that have been, you know, kind of pegging our season back is going to paper through the cracks, and for us not to kind of, because the truth is, more than half of this squad are going to be sold or let go. So at least 10 players are going to be sold or let go, including players like Luke Shaw and all of that, because they literally haven't even played, like someone like Luke Shaw hasn't really even played 5 games under Ruben Amorim. And he had not even played 5 games under Ten Hag at the beginning of the season. So there is a problem. And there's 7 games left with potentially 6 games left in the Europa League, 7 games left or 5 games left in the Europa League with 7 games left in the league. And Luke Shaw hasn't even put together a streak of 5 games. So these kinds of players are not the kind of players that Ineos would want, but that's my thought on that. Now over to the next segment of this takeaways. And it comes off of what we are seeing on social media, especially with pundits and ex-players like Gary Neville. I have released a couple of videos, and as I'm talking, I'm actually fuming about this situation because I've released a lot of videos with regards to Gary Neville's response, Gary Neville's, and maybe all the other pundits, especially ex-Man United pundits, their takes on certain things, because these pundits are the ones that sometimes generate the narrative for the mainstream media to fight at Man United. I saw someone like Margot Bridge, the first time I mentioned him on my channel. Margot Bridge say something in one of his shorts about the Gary Neville's take and the fact that everybody's piling on Man United instead of piling up on City that spent up to £200 million in January, with Man United spending next to nothing in January, to not even get the challenge for the title. And Liverpool, who have, in quotes, had a good season but have not been that good, are leading the race to win the league. Even Arsenal have not been as good. They are trailing Liverpool by however many points. And Liverpool sometimes script wins, VAR doesn't even, let's not get into that. But the truth is, it is very damning and very disappointing to see ex-players like Gary Neville run their mouths about the derby. And I'm going to read some quotes from Gary Neville's talk after the derby, his comments. Now, Gary Neville on Sky, this is someone who posted this on X, and it's by Elijah Kiyama. Now, posted this and he says, they're going to go for a roast dinner. They're micromanaged to an inch of their lives, so robotic that it's symptomatic of a lot of games that we are watching nowadays. And I'll tell you why this is hypocritical. Now, Gary Neville also on Sky Sports says the best Man City and Man United teams would be very disappointed with the way that they have approached the end of the game. It looks like it's Sunday afternoon and they're going to go for a roast dinner together. Being micromanaged within an inch of our lives, of not having any freedom to take risks to go and try and win football matches, it is becoming a disease in the game. He also said Pep Guardiola and his team and his teams over the last 10 years, that is what his teams do. Now, we are seeing poor imitations of that across the board now. United goalkeeper rolling his foot on the ball and waiting for things to happen. That's not it. That's not what the club is. That's not what this club is. That is not what we do here. Liverpool don't do that. The game today was quite depressing for me. Okay, if it was depressing, why don't you turn off the TV and not watch at all? I know you're working. And he says And the Premier League is about excitement, it's about thrill, it's about risk. And there was nothing like that in that game. So it's not good enough. Now, I'm going to tell you what Ruben Amorim had to say, the club back at Gary Neville, before I go and tell you his why his comments are hypocritical. First one, Ruben Amorim, when asked about Gary Neville's comments, you will see some of the comments probably in like, you know, on different channels, especially the post-match press conference. After the Manchester derby, he said, I understand that Gary Neville is critical about everything, and everybody started laughing. He said, we're doing the worst season in history. We aren't in the best moments to give the best spectacle to every fan. And I watched that press conference with keen attention to see how Amorim is going to approach, especially when it comes to questions. Now, back to why I said this is hypocritical. On the 3rd of February, literally over a month ago, someone someone took a screenshot of the paper and he says Gary Neville rips into disrespectful Gabriel, that's Gabriel Megalesh of Man City, after Arsenal star laughed in Erling Haaland's face and claims he felt uneasy watching the celebration. Now, Futalize on X posted this and says it's all just a bit too respectful for Gary Neville, who also doesn't like players being disrespectful. I'm confused. You should be. So we said confused. You should be. Now, the reason why I said this is hypocritical from Gary Neville is the fact that Arsenal are creating the environment where it seems like they're having a derby in Man City because there's always a back and forth with both teams. And then Gary Neville is saying that Gabriel Megalesh is disrespectful to Erling Haaland by screaming in his face and being all animalistic and hostile towards Haaland and Man City players and celebrating after the win against Man City. This has been happening for years, right? For the past 3 or 4 years since Arsenal started challenging for the title. He's saying this and saying, oh, Gabriel Megalesh is disrespectful and that he felt uneasy watching that celebration. Isn't it the same? So what do you want, Gary Neville? What do you really want? We respect you as fans, as a legend of the club, but what do you really want? You feel uneasy when someone celebrates and creates and bants the other team and gets really hostile towards the other team, but you still feel uneasy when teams respect each other. Oh, we know we're in a horrible season, we're in a horrible moment in our stages in Manchester United or Man City, whatever the case. But we respect each other. We didn't lose. We didn't no love lost on anything. We didn't kill each other and all of that. You still feel depressed and uneasy, and then you feel uneasy here. Please make it make sense. Choose a side. Don't sit on the fence. And one day you're saying this, another day you're saying this, something different. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about this. But I was really annoyed about it. I mean, Rory Rory talks football. Rory says, Gary Neville, players look like they are going for a Sunday roast after the game. Gary Neville, after Gabriel, Gary Neville, Gabriel laughing in Holland's face was disrespectful and made me feel uneasy. Gary Neville, also, there is not enough individualism. Players are too robotic and systemic. Also, Gary Neville, England should build an entire team around Phil Foden, even if he is not in form, rather than players like Cole Palmer or Morgan Rogers. Make it make sense. Gary Neville, choose a side. Let us know where you stand because you, and that's why Ruben Amorim said that Gary Neville always has an opinion about everything. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. It's really, really, really crazy. But it is what it is. I just had to say that. Maybe another time I'll probably rant into details, but I didn't want to just make this video extremely long. But thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all. I mean, we are helping the channel grow and we're growing together and building community and all of that. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about everything from the 7 takeaways to Gary Neville's comments post game. And then don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Do not forget to also comment about your opinions about the game and all of that. And then we can build from there. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, as always. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.